Latin nouns are divided into 5 distinct groups called declensions based on how these nouns end, and how these nouns change based on their grammar. We group nouns into these declensions based on the ending of their genitive case. This video covers nouns of the first declension, the A declension, so called because this vowel is thematic. It's found in most of the endings. Since we use the genitive case to determine to which declension a noun belongs, you will always see a noun listed with its nominative subject form, and this will be followed by its genitive form, the of form of the noun. First declension nouns always end in an AE in their genitive singular, and this I will tell you that a noun is in the first declension. The endings for the first declension are a, I, a, and in the plural, I, arm, is, as, is. From these endings, you can see that this really is the A declension. Since A is the first vowel, it makes sense this would be the first declension. When we decline a noun, we always write down the nominative singular form for the word given to us. Then we take the genitive form and remove the ending. This gives us our noun stem. And to this stem, we add the endings for the declension. This process works with almost any word, and we should get used to doing this, even from the beginning. So declining a first declension noun is actually quite easy. Let's take the noun stella stellae, which means star. We'll take advantage of the fact that the first form stella is in the nominative singular, and the second form stellae is in the genitive singular. Then we look at stellae and remove the ending ae. S-T-E-L-L is our noun stem, and this is what we add the rest of the endings to. By the way, for most first declension nouns, you can figure out the noun stem by looking at the nominative singular. It'll be that word without the A. But this won't always be the case for all nouns in all declensions. And if we get in the habit of always removing the ending from the genitive case, then we'll be safe working with all nouns in all declensions. Now that we have the full declension, it helps to add translations. Okay, the star, or a star, since Latin doesn't differentiate between the star, a star, or even just star. Of the star, to for the star as the object of a verb, and the ablative by, with, from, in, on the star. The plurals go similarly. Get used to translating your nouns when you decline them, simply as a way of drilling home the grammar of the cases. For us English speakers, getting used to the cases where the ending of the noun changes based on the grammar is one of the greatest hurdles in learning Latin. The more you can devote yourself to mastering the case system, the better you'll be. There are a couple of observations you can make solely about these endings. First, you might have noticed that the genitive singular, dative singular, and nominative plural all end the same way. Expectation and context will help you out with these in a sentence. So, for instance, you might have puellae dormiunt, the girls are sleeping, and puellae is the nominative plural because the verb dormiunt is plural, and it makes sense to have puellae as the subject, nominative plural. But we can change it around. Domina togam puellae dat. The verb dat, gives, is key in making us see that puellae is dative. First off, dat is singular, so puellae can't be nominative plural, since the verb and the nominative must be the same number. Second, the meaning gives expects a dative. The mistress gives a toga to the girl. And finally, there's mater puellae dormit, where puellae can't be a nominative plural since dormit is singular, and so the nominative must also be singular, mater. A dative doesn't make sense here. The mother sleeps to or for the girl, and so the genitive is the only real option. The girl's mother sleeps. Next, you can see that the dative and ablative plurals are also identical. Again, you would use the same context to figure out what case each noun is in. Often it helps to just try out one case, like the dative, and if it doesn't make sense, then try the other case. So we could have a phrase like vulneratus hastis, wounded. That's vulneratus. And then we have our first declension word hasta hastai, which means spear. We can try the dative, wounded to the spear or wounded for the spear, and those don't quite make sense. So we can try the ablative, wounded by the spear. Hastis must be ablative, because it just makes sense. Also, the first declension nominative singular and ablative singular both end in an A, but the nominative is a short A, while the ablative is a long A, ah. This long mark makes all the difference, and you should be sure to remember it. If you compare the first declension with the second declension, you'll notice quite a bit of similarities, especially with the dative and ablative plurals. In fact, the dative and ablative plurals of the words dea and filia are actually deabus and filiabus, in order to differentiate them from the second declension words deus and filius, whose forms are deis and filiis. The genitive plural for both declensions ends similarly, but with a different vowel. This same vowel difference is the same for the accusative plurals and ablative singulars, and the accusative singulars both end in an M. This similarity is not a coincidence. Most first declension nouns are feminine, while most second declension nouns are masculine. The only exceptions in the first declension are nouns of male occupations, words like poeta, agricola, nauta, pirata, and some names like skywola. Many masculine Greek names are first declension, including the name of Rome's founding hero from Troy, Aeneas. His name is declined a bit differently, which reflects the name's Greek origins. Aeneas, Aenei, Aenei, Aeneon, which is sometimes rendered Aeneam, and the ablative Aenea. You must know your declensions in Latin in order to read some of the greatest works of literature ever created. There's no getting around it, and the more time you spend with these endings, the better you'll be. So devote your time, memorize these endings, and you'll be halfway there.